Joining us now is Cam Stephenson from Courier Newsroom, live from Washington, D.C. Still in the short-term place, the one with the really mint green walls that you've got behind you there. I mean, I get a hankering for Thin Mints every time that we or mint chocolate chip ice cream. But this is what you got till you.
Yeah. Every wall in the house.
That's every wall in the house is that green. Wow.
Yeah, I used to be a fan of the color, but it is it's wearing thin. Let me tell you, I can't wait to get some walls of our own so we can paint them literally any color but this.
It does make for interesting choices for wall decorating. You made the right choice. Nothing on the wall right now, as long as that's going on. All right, well, let's get into the let's get into the shutdown here. And you'd look at something like the New York Times, and you'd almost wouldn't know that there was a shutdown, because I get it. The two parties are not really talking to each other right now. But the shutdown is a very real thing. It's very much having an impact on Americans, and a growing number of them, as you have fewer federal paychecks that are going out and everything like that. And it just feels, Cam, like I don't know if there's enough of an appreciation yet inside Washington, D.C., that, this is having real impact outside of the nation's capital.
Yeah, I think it's a result of us and maybe a lot more traditional media treating politics like sports, where it's, they said this, we're waiting for the next, controversy between the two parties. When really this is a good time for outlets and reporters to be digging into what's really going on. Well, just like you said, to what is actually happening on the street, what's happening with people's jobs and daily lives who are federal workers or who rely on federal programs. Or even the fact that Republicans, for the first time in shutdown history, aren't here to negotiate anything. Normally, they are here in their role. Their primary role in Congress is to pass a budget, to compromise, and to negotiate and debate what that looks like. But they're not trying that at all. They've gone home. They're just trying to kind of ride it out, which is unusual.
Right, because again, in the meantime, you have families going without paychecks. We've talked about the food banks that are already starting to open up, and frankly, just even beyond, the layoffs and the furloughs, you also have a historic wave of retirements. People who will not be coming back by their own choice, and those are not going to be easy positions to fill. So, again, maybe this is just me, but I feel like we've reached a tipping point in the era of government service. I mean, I don't think you're going to see a quote unquote full recovery from this thing when it's all done.
Yeah. And the thing that's hard to measure until you see the damage is programs that work really efficiently and effectively. Sometimes the best people at their jobs are the ones who you don't even know are there. And right now what we're seeing is just the hollowing out of our government infrastructure with jobs of people who do that. They go in every day and they make our lives easier. But because they're so good at it, we don't realize what they do. And we're going to start seeing that. I mean, the CDC has been going back and forth. One day, RFK Jr. fires 1,000 people. The next day, the administration is scrambling to hire back hundreds of experts because they're needed. We have members of the military, like you mentioned, going to food banks. We have here in DC, there are tons of restaurants that are offering free meals and reduced prices to federal workers because this week they're not getting paid. Even the ones who are going to work are not getting any money.
No, they're not. And it does not seem like you have an administration that is anything other than gleeful about this, because again, the more pain they inflict, the more they can say that it's actually Democrats who are doing this rather than the people who want to make all the slashing of healthcare and exacerbating this. Because again, I can't emphasize the math enough. Republicans have the majority in the Senate and the House, and they hold the White House, and it's their inability to agree amongst themselves that has led to this. They are actually the governing party. It's just that they choose not to.
Yeah. And really, when you only need 5, in the Senate, you only need a couple of votes. how hard would it be to actually meet with senators individually, Democrats, and try and win them over, try and give them, something for their state or something for their constituents that would cause them to compromise? Or even, they could do something that I guess is unheard of for congressional Republicans and give the Democrats one of the three things that they're asking for, which is to keep our healthcare laws, to restore funding for public broadcasts, and to provide security for public officials, which is another sticking point that Republicans, for whatever reason, don't want to bend on.
For whatever reason, yeah, that puts it one way. Michael in Pleasant Prairie on the text line says he answers his own question. What's going on in terms of the shutdown? It's affordable health care versus the Epstein files. And I mean, again, we have a lot of work going on to provide a distraction from something that could be very embarrassing to the Trump administration. They're really just looking to engage in quite literal propaganda, which takes us to Kristi Noem. And the new video that you would see at airports, before it was a very informative video about what you can and can't take through TSA checkpoints. Then the Trump administration took over, and it was more of a Kristi Noem, look at me, I'm telling you how wonderful the Trump administration is at this airport. Now there's a new version where she specifically to camera blames Democrats. In other words, engages in partisan politics on an official government video. And, it's very Big Brother-esque. Here's a cabinet official talking to you on these monitors where you're a captive audience waiting at a security checkpoint. And it's a very interesting development, Cam, that a growing number of these airports are saying, hey, you know what? There's no law that requires us to play this video, so we ain't gonna.
Yeah. I we were talking earlier. Both of us were traveling this past week, as the shutdown's been going on. And when I left Baltimore last week, there was Kristi Noem. Although it's kind of funny because this is a very ineffective Big Brother system. Anyone who's been at the airport knows that these videos play, but they're on mute. And so unless you're sitting there reading the captions as it's going, you have no idea what these videos are even saying.
Well, right, because initially pre-Trump, they were very graphic heavy, just showing you things that you could or couldn't take through security. And like I said, the first Kristi Noem was just her talking to camera. And like I said, I don't think she realized that they're on mute at most of these airports. So you're right. It's not the most effective propaganda, is it?
No. I mean, that's what you get when it's a bunch of people who enjoy being on TV above all else. But we are seeing, like you mentioned, more and more airports are refusing to even air it. By the time I got back home, when I stopped in Phoenix and Atlanta, I didn't see it. And it just seems like people and organizations and institutions are finding their own way to say, we don't have to politicize everything in life. People just want to get to the airport and get to where they want to go. They don't need to see the Department of Homeland Security director talking to us.
Right, exactly. Let's see. State Senator Chris Alfheim in Appleton says even Speaker Robin Vos came to the table when a compromise was needed to pass a budget. When they needed Democratic votes, he wasn't happy, but he brought Senate Dems to the negotiation when the Republican Senate wouldn't. And again, that's a sign of being a grown-up. And so for people that say like, well, you need 60 votes for something in the Senate, so it's the Democrats' fault. Well, it's not the Democrats' fault if you won't negotiate with them, if you need their votes. It's really that simple. So in the meantime, you have a protest planned nationwide for Saturday, the so-called No Kings protests. And they're going to be all over Wisconsin, all over every place. And it really says something when you have cabinet officials like Sean Duffy and others who are trying to get ahead of this and say that it's all paid agitators and it's all Antifa. And it just makes Sean Duffy and the others look absolutely ridiculous that you feel that you need to pre-butt a demonstration against you.
It does. It does for anyone who is able to see the whole picture. What I'm worried about is that they say these things, they're these sound bites, and then this far right media propaganda network is able to take those, splice it with footage of violent protests, and say, this is what you're going to see in your city, and cause unnecessary agitation, or just cause people to believe something that isn't real, like what we're seeing with Portland and Chicago.
Absolutely. And although, again, they were going to do it anyway. And so if people, people want to protest about what they think is happening in DC, then they should. And hopefully without this administration trying to goad anybody into violence or intimidation. Catch all this from the Below the Beltway newsletter that Cam puts together. Head over to couriernewsroom.com or belowthebeltway.news for more. Cam, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Go enjoy some Thin Mint Oreos for me now.
Don't mind if I do. Thanks, Pat.
All right. Thanks, Cam. We'll talk to you a little bit later.